Hello everyone, welcome back to Etc. And today we have another Etc. Space Program video. And today we are finally going interplanetary. And our mission today is to land on Gilly, Eve's little tiny asteroid moon. Uh, so hopefully it goes well. It goes okay-ish. Sorry for the late upload, though. I'll talk about it in the Timeline Tuesday video, as I kind of want to talk about what's actually happening here. But just putting in the whole science stuff in the cargo bay, and then I tried to bring in some of the breaking grounds stuffs, experiment things. It didn't go extremely well. I'll talk about that once we actually land. But here I am putting these metal girders slash steel strut things to kind of, be able to put the landing legs here on the nuclear engine, because the nuclear engine is very long and landing legs aren't able to actually, attach to it. So it's semi cheaty, but like it makes this mission possible and much easier. Make sure we got the solar panels so we don't run out of electricity, and just putting the fairing around our upper stage of the rocket. Whoops, messed that first one up. It looks kind of wonk to me, so I changed it a wee bitty bit. So that's our upper stage. Now going to add our middle stage, our 1.5 stage, as I like to call it, as we still have all the fuel in the tanks when the, I guess, two side tanks fall off and we're basically in orbit. It has a lot of delta V, that's why I call it our 1.5, but our two side tanks will be propelled by the mainsail engines that we recently got, which are pretty amazing. And as you can see, got our yellow fuel lines, and then just strutting these things up. The mainsail engines have a lot of thrust, tip over quite easily. One thing I would like to mention, though, here, putting Bob in the command seat because he can redo the science. Made sure we had our Communitron, but we just crossfaded on over to our tracking station to get an optimal Eve transfer window, because Gilly is Eve's moon, so getting that optimal Eve transfer window, which is about negative 51 degrees, or at least that's what it tells me on the Kerbal Space Program transfer window website, and there we go. Kerbin has to be in front of Eve, and then Eve behind, 51 degrees. But crossfading on over to the launch pad here, I put on some structural, launch manifolds. But there they go, and now we are launching. The mainsail engines have a lot of thrust that we don't necessarily need to use all at once, so I throttled down to only about 2/3 oomph power, because to just get the gravity turn, it's not necessary for that much, and it tends to tip over. But aiming for that 45 degrees at 10,000 meter mark, got that. That's for a more efficient gravity turn. And you can see that we're starting to get nice and toasty, as the mainsail engines are pretty good thrust wise. And then just making sure we got a nice high Kerbin apoapsis, and then dragging out the prograde marker so we get into orbit. So here we go, get rid of that fairing. And like I said, very top heavy. I don't know why, for whatever reason, whenever I use the mainsails, it just gets super duper top heavy, and now it's spinning right round, baby, right round. And SAS is trying to do whatever in its power to just straighten it, but I think here it is, straighten ourselves out with the physical time warp, and then going to light up our engines again to get into orbit. So there we are. The two side tanks go goodbye, and I forgot to turn on free camera multiple times in this video. I don't know why anybody would want to use anything besides free cam, but it was painful. So here, just selecting Gilly or Eve as their target, and dragging out Prograde and getting those nice encounter grade encounter nodes, and then just finagling with it a wee bit to get our encounter. There we are. Was a pretty easy encounter, because if you just get that optimal encounter window, you just have to drag out pro grade for the most part, and then you're almost guaranteed to get that nice that nice Eve encounter. And here we are extending our solar panels. We lost one of them some way along the mission that I don't really know how. And there we are extending the Communitron. We're just commencing our Eve burn now. But that Communitron is very important, as Bob can't make maneuver nodes, as he is just a mere scientist, not a pilot. But about to get our Eve encounter. Eve has a pretty big gravity well. Oh, there we go. Eve has a pretty big gravity well, so it's not too difficult, but with the swivel engine, has quite a bit of thrust power compared to, say, a Terrier engine or, the nuclear nerve engine. So, you gotta kind of finagle with it. Got our encounter, though, pretty easy. Now I'm finagling with trying to just get a nice and close Eve periapsis, so we can basically abuse the Oberth effect, but just trying to get nice and close also so we can get science from space near Eve, or space high above whatever biome we're high above. And I'm not the greatest with the maneuver node maker, so I had a bit of a conniption here, just trying to get about 100,000 meters above Eve's surface, because Eve has a very thick atmosphere, and aerobraking is not exactly an option without the dummy thick deployable heat shield, because it just eats you alive, because Eve is basically the equivalent of Venus. And it's you either get blasted into smithereens, or it just doesn't go too well. So here we are, leaving the Kerbin system for the first time into interplanetary space. So I'm just doing our experiments from high above the sun, aka interplanetary space, to get even more science. Gotta get that magnometer boom, and then just collecting all that crisp data. And then Bob gotta go out on EVA to restore the Science Junior and then the Mystery Goo. Oh, I'm still not the best on EVA, because it's like, the way that they have EVA is that AWSD is relative to the way that your Kerbal's facing on EVA, and it's incredibly confusing, and there goes AutoCam, which absolutely sucks. It basically just gets that weird flipping, so, yeah, I don't know how to fix that, except for just spamming FreeCam. Going to do our maneuver here now to basically pinpoint our Eve encounter, our Eve periapsis, to just get it nice and close to Eve. So just basically tapping shift just very lightly to get that nice close encounter, and then going to pull up on normal a bit, because having this low elliptic, not flat orbit, I don't know what the word is not too great, given Gilly's orbit is on a slant as well, but it makes it more difficult than it really should be. So just going to warp on over to the Eve system, and about to enter, and there we are in Eve's sphere of influence. You can see Eve there right above, or was right above, the nav ball. Has a bit of an eclipse, but now going to run all the science from high above Eve or space high above Eve, to get all that nice, good science. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but I'm not going to do biome hopping. I think I mentioned it in the Minmus video, but I just don't feel good about it, per se. It just makes it unfun, I guess, and it's pretty easy to get. um, it's pretty easy to get scienced anyways, just from different planets. And warping on over to commence our burn at Eve to circularize, or not circularize, just stay in the Eve system so we don't fly out. We don't have to get super close because Gilly has a pretty far orbit from Eve as it doesn't have much gravity. But now doing all the experiments from space near Eve, because this will be the only chance we really get until, say, we leave Gilly, and I'll probably forget by then. Just like how I forgot to do the EVA Science Pack, add that. But we got all our nice Eve, space near Eve science, and then now just performing our burn with our 1.5 stage to basically get a stay in the Eve system for our stay. Eve is quite a beautiful planet with the nice pink purple hue. We'll probably go there in a future video. I'm not sure if I mentioned this anytime, but I believe there goes AutoCam. I believe the goal for the series is to hopefully land on every celestial body in the system with the Outer Planets mod installed to basically showcase those. And I haven't seen them, really, so I want to see those. So that's going to be the goal, land on every celestial body that's basically actually in the game with a set orbit. No asteroids or anything like that, because that's going to be an absolute pain. So every set celestial body. But now I'm making the maneuver node for our periapsis to intersect with Gilly's orbit, so we can actually get the encounter, which is, not gonna lie, probably the most difficult part of the mission, as I can never seem to do it right. I've gone to Gilly a few times before, but I'm not the greatest at it, as Gilly has just the tiniest sphere of influence ever. So it's pretty difficult to get a good Gilly encounter, especially when you come in at, say, a slant from Eve. So it's more difficult than it really should be. And I had to reload a quick save there because when I did do my burn, it didn't go too great. I think I did it too far, and when I tried to get the maneuver back, it didn't go too well. So I've just reloaded a quick save there. I am playing with quick saves because playing without quick saves, I'm not the best or most efficient Kerbal Space Program player in the world. So quick saves is kind of my lifeline to making these videos somewhat bearable. But here, funnily enough, the decoupler kind of got stuck on the engine bell / the strut connector pieces. So that sucked. But got our periapsis they're intersecting with Gilly's orbit, or almost intersecting with Gilly's orbit. So now we're going to basically I'm trying to finagle the maneuver node maker to almost force a Gilly encounter. The way that you're supposed to do it, I've heard from, Matt Lown tutorials, is that, here's another quick save load, I have to kind of redo that burn because I maybe slight have messed it up. I thought it was periapsis. Whatever. I messed it up. I didn't actually get it to intersect, so I'm redoing the burn here. Probably should have cut that out, but too lazy for that. So the way that you're supposed to do it, you basically put maneuver node on periapsis and then pull on retrograde, and then see, it gets stuck again. It's kind of just a bit of a bug. I guess it's my fault. But just pull on retrograde, and then the gray encounter node should just swing right round, baby. Every single time I've tried to do a Gilly mission, that's never worked. So now my next genius plan was to just wait for Gilly to orbit a few times and then see if, the maneuver node maker will uh see that in the next orbit I'll be able to get an encounter, because I'm only intersecting at like 1 point. So my odds are pretty slim, but I think it's only a few more orbits after this that I actually get the encounter. Oh, actually, it's this orbit. So yeah, got the encounter at least with the maneuver node. About to commence the burn very soon. Just got to warp around to Periapsis. And whoop, I'm focused on Gilly, so sorry about that. Commencing our burn now, and then trying to get that nice Periapsis. It's very finicky. Whoop, and then it basically just appears into existence like so. Now warping on over to Gilly's sphere of influence. It's very, very tiny sphere of influence. I believe it has the smallest sphere of influence. This is where I lost the solar panel. I believe that's from the decoupler. But Gilly has the smallest sphere of influence and smallest gravity well out of any celestial body in the game. I'm not sure about Outer Worlds included, but just stock KSP. But now I'm running the experiments from space high above Gilly before we have to commence our burn to circularize. Given we probably don't need to circularize as we're going relatively slow, as in, like, slower than probably a MUN mission. Like, we come in faster on a MUN mission. So, probably could land, but I think it's more efficient to actually circularize and then land, as you don't have to basically slow down all at once doing a massive suicide burn, and that's much more difficult with a nuclear engine. So we're going to slow down doing our retrograde circularization burn. I think we go down to like 25 meters per second, something ridiculous like that. Yep. Oh, even less. 14 meters per second is how fast we're going. Yeah, Gilly has absolutely no gravity. It's kind of hilarious. And trying to get to land on the light side of Gilly, because it doesn't look too good on YouTube, as YouTube makes videos look dark, and also can't see anything as Gilly has semi-rugged terrain, so I don't want to crash into anything while landing. So I kind of warped around as when I did the maneuver. It, was going into a mountain. I really should be doing it from apoapsis, but doesn't matter a whole bunch, as apoapsis and periapsis, it's like on Gilly, because it has no gravity, it's basically pointless to do anything. So now, because we're going at 19 meters per second, I have to do 4 times time warp, or physical time warp, because can't do normal time warp because we're so close to the body. But this is at 10 times speed, and this is 10 times speed, normal, and then times 4, because that's what the time warp is in-game. I basically tapped on prograde to get it to go a wee bit farther, because we were going to crash into a mountain, and that's not fun with parallax. So this is 10 times speed than normal. So, well, technically 40, so it's slightly ridiculous, because it took a long time. I was just watching, I believe, a Mumbo Jumbo video, waiting for it to come round after however many minutes it took. But now just going to land. Gotta slow down. Gotta make sure we do our space near Gilly experiments. You gotta be under 5,000 meters. So 5 kilometers above the surface is near Gilly. It's so microscopic. And there goes AutoCam. But gotta now restore the experiments for when we land, as we only have one more time to do experiments, so shouldn't matter a whole bunch. But now we're going to come in for a landing burn. Actually, is this our landing burn? Yes. So, if you look at the altimeter, it wasn't actually under 5,000 meters. That was sea level, and we're landing in the Midlands. So, that's basically from the lowlands it's measuring because it was on sea level, the altimeter. Doesn't matter too much because we're coming in super slow anyways. We land at like 0.01 meters per second. So we're very, very slow. Like, we're touching down on a feather because the gravity is near nothing. Yeah, 0.00 meters per second. It's like, oof, barely touchdown. And we landed on a nuclear engine. This is like the only place in the solar system where you can land on a nuclear engine. Kind of ridiculous. Gotta run all the experiments though from the surface of Gilly, or Gilly's Midlands, and the parallax textures kind of make Gilly look like a crumbly chocolate chip cookie. Even from the surface, like, the big rocks look like chocolate chips, and then the little lines, because don't get me wrong, the parallax textures are absolutely breathtaking. They're amazing. I love them. But it kind of looks like a chocolate chip cookie, don't it? Like, the crumbly bits are like, the little mud, I guess, rock flake line things. And then you have the big rocks, which are the chocolate chips. That's how I see it. It's kind of funny to me. But I gotta take our surface sample and whatnot, and EVA report, and plant our flag, the most important part of the entire mission, named First Gilly Landing. We may come back for more, but I had to crossfade over to just re-getting back in, as I slammed into the rocket. Here's our ascension burn. I slammed into the rocket on RCS, trying to get the whole solar panel array, the basically ground, whatnot, features, in Breaking Grounds, and I slammed into the rocket, and it just fell over, and the ground surface features did not work too well, and I kind of just scrubbed it. I'll probably look into it a bit later, but I just absolutely wiped out the rocket just by Bob Kerman slamming into it. But our ascension burn is kind of funny, as you can just straight up take off into Eve's orbit, straight out of Gilly's sphere of influence, just right off the bat. You don't even have to circularize. That's how little gravity it has. But now we're going to leave Gilly's sphere of influence. But at apoapsis, we want to reduce our periapsis to come very close to Eve once again, to use the Oberth effect, which states when burning at apoapsis, burns are more efficient to minimize or extend periapsis. So that's what we're doing here, trying to get it at about 100,000 meters above the surface ish, to maximize that Oberth effect. And now trying to get back to Kerbin, is a bit of a hassle. I was finagling with the nodes for a good while. And then when I finally do get the encounter, whenever that is, because the encounter nodes were really close, the gray encounter nodes were really close, and then I was like, funny, we'll just, not, and then here's our encounter. And, well, the encounter said, encounter in 7-something years. I hate it when KSP does it. It just bugs out. It gives you this false hope, and it just straight up disappears on your next approach. It's like, oh yeah, you're coming home, but in 7 years, and then it just bugs out, and then the game doesn't calculate it. I absolutely hate how it does that, but I guess it's not a big old deal. It's just really, really annoying. So I did the burn. I got my periapsis, quote unquote, and then tried to do the maneuver node to actually intersect with Kerbin's atmosphere to do the aero brake and, land. But because the encounter was in 7 years, it just straight up disappeared, and that was incredibly annoying. When I tried to warp to node, it said in too long. And then, yeah, there goes. Our encounter basically just disappears. It was super annoying, but I come around a few times, I think, in the next orbit. Once we get close to our descending node, I make another maneuver. Oh, yeah. I make another maneuver at Apoapsis, and then it doesn't take too much Delta V to get an actual encounter with Kerbin in the next however many. So it doesn't take too much Delta V, only 300 meters per second. So we still have enough in our budget to safely return home, as Gilly isn't too big of a Delta V taker. But just trying to bring it out to about 30,000 meters above the surface so we don't absolutely incinerate ourselves. And so we land on the first go, or at least just, aero brake enough so we don't go flying out, but just perform that burn, and then coming into Kerbin, retracting the antenna so it doesn't all burn up, but evidently it does. Some nice fireworks. There goes the landing legs and the struts, and our heat shield does most of the work for us as we smash into the atmosphere of Kerbin, just to slow us down for a nice safe landing. Checking the map screen to make sure we did slow down, as our altimeter was kind of going up and then going back down, but we landed on the first go. And the heat gauges didn't get too hot anyways, so that was pretty nice. I assumed that we were coming in at interplanetary speeds. There goes the parachutes, by the way. That it would get pretty hot, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. But now, for our nice, safe touchdown, our drogue chutes. I contemplated cutting the drogue chutes at least, but it didn't matter too much. You can always speed it up. And touchdown! Safe return home of Bob Kerman. So gotta recover the vessel and crossfade over. We got 3,902 science points from that mission. That's a whole lot of science, boys. But going into R&D, making sure we pick out our parts for our next mission, which will most likely be a Duna mission. First off, getting the command modules so we can get the nice command 3 module, Mark 3 command module, so we can actually fit 3 Kerbals in the module. I was contemplating it a bit, but gotta make sure we get that for our Duna mission so we can have a pilot and whatnot. But getting the very heavy rocketry for the Mammoth engines and the Vector engines makes life a bit easier. The big boy fuel tanks. I kind of just collected whatever I thought would be good, I guess. Anything that was not in aviation, is we're not going to be doing SSTOs anytime soon. Getting scanning tech, as it has the atmosphere scanner, which gives more science, and then all the other very conditional science things. Got the better landing legs, which are going to be super helpful as Parallax bugs out. Got the super big fuel tanks, the Kerbidyne fuel tanks. Got the precision fuel tanks. What else? Advanced science tech to get the Gravioli detector. That's another science in the bag. And then the scanning arms, which maybe we might do a rover next mission. I highly doubt it, as I'm not that advanced yet. But perhaps. It could be cool. Getting the bigger fairings, as it could be useful. I don't know how the next rocket's going to turn out, so getting the biggest fairing pieces is probably good. Getting the advanced flight control as RCS thrusters would probably be pretty useful, especially in Duna, just, trying to not flip over. Let's see, what else do I grab here? No, I didn't grab it. I can't really remember. Not getting the rovers yet, as rovers may be slightly a waste of time for now. But I think, yeah, getting advanced metalworks as the closable docking shield is pretty good. But that is it for this video. So hopefully you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. But that's it. Signing off for now. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on the next KSP video. But goodbye.